Welcome to Jewish Cinémathèque, where we meet some of the important faces involved with films that tackle aspects of the Jewish experience. Today I am joined on Zoom by filmmaker Dani Menkin, writer and director of Aulcie, a film about Aulcie Perry, one of the most celebrated Israeli basketball players of all time. Dani, welcome to Jewish Cinémathèque. It's really great to have you with us.
Pleasure being with you.
So, Dani, you've been making films now for a couple of decades, and in your film On the Map, which I must tell you I loved, which you made 5 years ago, you included Aulcie Perry as part of it, but the focus was more on the team and on Tal Brody. Why all of a sudden, several years later, have you come back to make this film about this incredible African-American basketball player who picked himself up and moved to Israel?
Yeah, so actually Aulcie Perry was my first choice. I always wanted to tell his story. And I started writing a screenplay based on his life, which I still have and I still plan to do. At some point, I felt like it's tough for Aulcie to talk about it. And it took his time because it's not only a story about his glory, it's also a story about his addictions. It's a story that he wanted to tell in a way that will be complete, but it took him time to open up. And when I met with him first, he told me about a daughter that he has never seen, and actually hasn't seen from 20 years. I mean, she was 2 years old when he saw her last time. And he wanted to tell her the story. So it came about that in many ways, Aulcie is not only telling me the story, but he's telling it to the daughter that he hasn't met yet. So it took us a long time. During these years, Rinat Klein, who's the daughter of Ralph Klein, the coach of Maccabi Tel Aviv, approached me and tells me, "Hey, Dani, you know that nobody's ever made a movie about the 1977 team? It sounds as crazy as nobody made a movie about Michael Jordan." Or a series. And now they did. So luckily, I joined forces with her and later on with Nancy Spielberg and later on with John Weinbach, who happened to be also the producer of The Last Dance and is a good friend. And we realized that this is much larger than sport. And when we completed on the
we realized, when you say we realized this was much larger than sports, are you talking about the 1977 On the Map story or the story of Aulcie Perry, or both?
Both. I think a great sports story has to be larger than just the game. On the Map, when Tal Brody has his unbelievable statement after beating the Russians during the Cold War when they just don't want to play against Israel, was obviously the story of Israel as a state going from one generation to the other. With the story of Aulcie, it was even more than that. And that's why it is in many ways the sequel of On the Map. But I see it as a standalone, because it is a story of an African American.
Well, you know what? I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you for a second because our viewers may not have seen On the Map. Can you just quickly give us a little background of what this story was and where Aulcie fits in, and we'll go from there.
So first, I will tell you, and maybe you can also put it in the notes, that whoever wants to watch any of our trailers or support our mission can go to HeyJudeProductions.com. You see on my back, there is the logo of Hey Jude from the Beatles line. And I love the line, take a sad song and make it better. So HeyJudeProductions.com is our website, and that's where you can watch our trailers. for all of our films.
And is that what you do? Is that what you do? You take a sad song and make it better?
And make it better. Yes, I think all of my films have some kind of bittersweetness in it. And to go back to your question, On the Map was the story of Israel post Yom Kippur War, post Entebbe, a country that just started its footsteps. I was born in 1970, so I remember Israel then as a young, innocent country that all they wanted to do is just compete on larger scale. And when there are so many Jews that never made it to the NBA, and one of them that couldn't even make it to the NBA, Tal Brody, one of them did make it to the NBA but gave up to the NBA. I'm adjusting. And the other one, Aulcie Perry, that was not Jewish, but it was the last one to be cut from the Knicks. And then he comes to Israel and falling in love with the country and becoming Jewish. And they need to play against the Russians, the same team, the same players that beat the Americans during Munich. And everybody is expecting Maccabi Tel Aviv to lose by 40 points. If there will be a game, and after a long story, they decided there will be a game because Israel forced them to make it on the neutral side, and Maccabi Tel Aviv just kicked their tush. They're just, making the unbelievable victory, and then they're because of that, they're advancing to the European Championship and winning the first European title.
So for the American audience, who follows basketball, but, very much just thinks about the NBA or what was the ABA, this was a competition, a European competition, which Israel, even though it's not in Europe, participates in.
Yes, it's the largest league outside of the NBA. So it's the biggest basketball competition outside of the NBA. And Israel traditionally, because of obvious reasons, are competing in Europe and not in Asia, which makes it much harder because if we played in Asia, we could have won the Asian Championship, probably beating China, and Japan, Thailand. We need to play against Italy, Spain, and Russia. They're basketball giants. In 1977, the miracle happened. A lot thanks to Aulcie Perry.
And you in your film call it the miracle not on ice, but the miracle on
hardwood. That's the miracle on hardwood. That's, by the way, much bigger than the miracle on ice. And everybody tells me, oh, but we never heard about it. Of course you have never heard about it because there was not a movie about it. You heard about Miracle on Ice because of the great movie. So that was my job. So
On the Map, you talk about that, and this Maccabi Tel Aviv team of 1977 playing Russia, the team that had beat the United States in the Munich Olympics, and that's what the focus is of that film. And one of the players is Aulcie Perry, but he seems to have a minor role in that film. And all of a sudden now, this is all about Aulcie.
Yeah. Even On the Map, I showed that professionally, Aulcie Perry was the game changer, because Jews known to be many things, not so tall and not so good in basketball. And we have a saying that if you can't beat them, import them and then convert them. So Aulcie Perry, when he came to Israel, and he came for 1 year and he stayed until today. For more than 40 years, he's now living in Israel. And I think it's beautiful. It's very timing, very much relevant to what happens now. We're recording this conversation when there are so many protests supporting Black Lives Matter. And that was the time that also Aulcie Perry, as a young boy in Newark, New Jersey, he saw the riots. He faced, when he was playing basketball, a lot of racism. Then suddenly he's coming to Israel, nobody judging for his color, and he's becoming a legend. and he's falling in love not only with the country, but with the top model of the top international model, Tammy Ben-Ari. They became the Berjolina of the country, the power couple. And the story crosses from the sport.
She was Israeli, and she meets him. And in the film, you talk about that relationship, which was a little odd. She came from a traditional home. She was Jewish. He was not. And we don't want to spoil. We want our viewers to see the film, which is an incredible film, by the way. Kol hakavod. Congratulations. But what a story there. So you have the story of the African-American. You mentioned that he played for, or he was recruited by the Knicks. He had played in the American Basketball League in Virginia for a year. Not terribly successful, but he's recruited by the Knicks.
Yeah.
What happened then? Why didn't he?
No, he was amazing, but when he was the last guy to be cut from the Knicks, you need to understand, somebody like Aulcie Perry, in his life and in his mindset, basketball is the escape from the ghetto. He saw so much poverty. He saw so much crime. He saw so many of his friends died. And he knew that basketball will be his way out of it. And then when he has no job, he said, I will play anywhere, even in Israel, for almost no money. He wanted to show that he can play in Europe. And he could not imagine that in Israel, there are not only camels, there is even basketball, and he helped Maccabi Tel Aviv win the first championship, and he becomes an icon. He becomes like more than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for Los Angeles. He's really, with Tal Brody and Mickey Berkovich and all these team, they became like, we mentioned the Beatles. They became like the Beatles. I mean, it was unbelievable, but in Aulcie Perry's case, it crossed from the sports section because he was a big item. Everywhere he went with Tammy, they were TV, magazine, cover of magazine, and then he wins the European Championship again. He made Maccabi Tel Aviv one of the biggest sport club in basketball outside of the NBA. From a team that didn't even pass the first round, from nothing.
Let me ask you a question. So you are a child, what, 6, 7-year-old? I don't want to give away. And you're watching this as a child, and I take it must have been that basketball was something you were really into. What was it like for you as an Israeli? I mean, this is 1977, the aftermath of the Yom Kippur War, which actually brought Israel down. And then the next couple of years, the change of government, the Entebbe raid the year before, and now all of a sudden this basketball miracle. What was it like for you as a child? And is this something that resonated? All of you? I have to make a film about this.
Not just that it resonates. It's one of my first childhood memories. Because we are walking to later was called Rabin Square. Look at the irony of it. And back then it was Kikar Malchei Israel, the municipality square. But on the way to celebrate the first victory of Maccabi Tel Aviv in the European Championship, we hear that the prime minister resigned. And he resigned the day of the game. So you cannot almost write it. It's too good to be true, which is one of the reasons I'm right now turning this into a narrative feature film. Any one of your viewers that want to come as partners and help us tell good, positive stories from Israel, now my marketing work, we have a non-for-profit On The Map Foundation just for that, to tell good, positive stories from Israel, and the information is on our website. And if you'll be kind, maybe we'll put it on the notes. But it was so important for me that this story will be told. I never believed in my childhood that I will be the one that will tell that story. And when I was approached, I actually thought that there were many movies about it. And And then we realized not only that there were not movies about it, not too many people knew that it was the last year that Tal Brody played basketball, that he's going to visit his father, that he has a heart attack and he's in the hospital 2 games before the championship game. So those things are just unbelievable. But all that time, I'm going back to your first question, I have Aulcie Perry's story. Because I knew that Aulcie Perry is important. It's an important story because it shows Israel in a different light. Nobody judged his colors. Everybody saw Aulcie as, you know, somebody who really brought Israel to another place. But in this film, you can see why Aulcie Perry have fallen in love with Israel and why Israel have fallen in love with him. And even when things got tough for him, and I don't want to spoil the movie, but
No spoilers.
a big part of this movie is when Aulcie Perry is going through a terrible time, and people were worried for his life. He had to be spending time in jail. All that time, he never forgot Israel, and Israel never forgot him. And without a spoiler alert, I will tell you that there is a happy ending to the movie. But it's really something that I knew that if there is one movie, if I'm alive and I have one movie that I need to tell, this will be it.
So let's take a look at a clip from Aulcie, a film written and directed by Dani Menkin.
Where do I start my story? When I was 13 and a half, games were all the way across. I only could stay 2 blocks, and no blocks there.
Basketball was his way out of the ghetto.
I was young. I knew that he loved me, but I knew that he loved basketball too.
I saw him play. I said, I want you to come over to play in Israel.
Where?
Aulcie Perry was Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rolled into one. He turns himself and his team into the kings of Europe.
The moment he looked at her, that was it. I think it was love at first sight.
She was the big European model, one of the top 10, and he was the basketball superstar.
It was a phenomenon in the late 70s.
Tammy wasn't sure she would marry him. They were the first mixed couple. She was Jewish and he wasn't.
With all the joy and excitement, inside it was a dead feeling. I started to take a lot of pain pills.
He was in Tommy's apartment. He wasn't really moving. She was scared he was dead.
He was different. Cuckoo, different.
I always knew one thing, that I wanted to tell you my story, the way it is.
That was fantastic, Dani. Thank you. I mean, this is a film which is a tragedy, and yet it's a success story. And as you tell it with Hey Jude, I mean, you are taking a sad story and making it into this beautiful, beautiful tale. And I can't wait to see the narrative. And I think you should be asking people on camera now if they want to try out to play the part of Aulcie. I want to go back to your childhood and why you became a filmmaker. Now, I know that you started out working with sports on television. Was sports a major part of your growing up years? Did you yourself play basketball?
You know, that's another paraphrasing for that famous line, if you can beat them, join them. So I would say if you can join them, report on them. So I really wanted to be one of these guys. I mean, I wanted to be in Maccabi Tel Aviv. I wasn't tall enough. I wanted to be then a soccer player, and I didn't make it to, you know, the level that I think I should have made it. And I still think I should have. But they opened the sport channel in Israel, and that was when I finished my service in the Israeli army, and I felt like I wanted to just combine the passion that I have for storytelling and for sport. And I did few years on the Israeli Sport Channel, and then I started to expand and learn how to be a director. I actually took some workshops in the United States. And my first film was kind of like they call it the Israeli Hoop Dreams. I followed the high school basketball team all the way to their championship for the first time. So I was very lucky. Documentary God was with me. And then I told myself, you know what?
What was the title, Dani? What was the title of that film?
Looks like ROST. Whoever wants to email us from our website, I'll be happy to give them a link to the movie, because it cannot be seen anywhere else. It's a very unique film. I made it. I finished it more than 20 years ago. It's unbelievable that I say that. And then I started to make fiction and documentaries, feature films. My first international documentary, 39 Pounds of Love, was an Israeli Academy Award, was bought by HBO, shortlisted here for the Oscars. And then
you made that in 2005. So that
39
was
Pounds of Love.
15 years ago.
Yes, time flies.
And then Je t'aime, I love you.
Je t'aime, I love you Terminal, which is a romantic feature film, which you can find on Amazon Prime. And then Is That You? It's another romantic road trip narrative film. And I'm very proud of all of them. Got great reviews by the New York Times. And they're on Amazon Prime. And in between, I made a film with my partner, Jonathan Neal, called Dolphin Boy, which Disney bought the rights for the film, and I'm now writing and directing it to a narrative as well. So that's part of of my journey, and then came On the Map and Aulcie. So I've been pretty busy.
Sounds like it, but let me ask you a question, because it's not all that common for a filmmaker to go back and forth between documentary filmmaking and narrative filmmaking, and yet your narrative films have this, at least some of them have this documentary style to them. Can you talk a little bit about that? And
I love it because I'm a storyteller. So when I do my feature film, I try to bring as much truth as I can to them, and vice versa. When I do a documentary, I try to structure it, score it, write it, edit it, just like it is a feature film, a narrative drama. So I have no problem going back and forth. At the end of the day, I'm a storyteller. Lately, a lot of incredible documentaries are very successful in the box office, and I'm thrilled now to do more of narrative. But the good thing about the documentary is that, or when I'm making a feature based on the documentary, is that there are some things that if I would write, nobody would have believed me. If I would have written Dolphin Boy and said, okay, the kids became a dolphin without showing this, or if I would say that there was this story about a person that gave up on the NBA, and then in this last year for his career, he is grieving the first title and putting the country on the map. And 2 days before the most important game of his career, the last game of his career, his father is sitting in the hospital. And during that game, the prime minister resigned. Everybody told, come on, take it easy, okay? Some credibility, please. So I like to use the narrative and the documentary as needed. And as you can see, I'm passionate. I enjoy.
What's amazing is these are feel-good movies, not only about the characters that you portray, but about the state of Israel, which is so rare today and so beautiful. So Dani, here we are. You've just finished Aulcie. We are taping this, as you can see, virtually. It's the middle of the pandemic. And what happens today with the release of a film like Aulcie? It did play back in January. It had its world premiere in Miami and then New York. How does a filmmaker get a film out today?
So right now, everybody, not only me, even the big studios are going digital. We are waiting now with Aulcie because we believe that it has its life in a movie theater. It needs to get that aspect of it. And we are all thinking that when everything will be over, people will come back to the festivals and they will need inspiring, good movies, and we'll get it out there. Because as you said, people need good, positive stories. People need inspiration. And the fact that it's also doing good to our country that we love so much, and people can see us in positive light, that's part of our mission on the MAP Foundation. And we're happy we're bringing it out there to the world. And we love the reaction of the audience.
Yeah, that's great. And actually the Israel Film Center Festival in New York at the Meyerson JCC is showing this virtually, which is very exciting. You've now made, Dolphin Boy and Is That You and On the Map, and then you made a film about The Impossible Shot. Amos, was it?
Yes. We call it Picture of His Life, and that movie will be, I co-directed it again with my Dolphin Boy partner, Jonathan Nir, and that film is about a wildlife photographer going to take the impossible shot of a polar bear underwater, and the film will be on a virtual release on June 19, 2020. So from June 19, 2020, people can go to pictureofhislife.com and order it and watch it.
Just to conclude, the future.
This is a good time to write. So I'm enjoying that time to explore and polish my screenplays. And I accept nothing less than being on the set as soon as possible with new projects and new films. And I hope people will still enjoy them and love them. And all we want to do is to do good for people. That's why we're here. And we will continue doing this.
Dani Menkin, thank you so much for joining us, and Hatzlacha Rabbah, much success with all the wonderful work you do. As somebody who loves basketball, I must tell you, I love watching all of your movies, but in particular your basketball movies. And we look forward to having you back. All the best.
Pleasure being with you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more. Simply visit the JBS website at jbstv.org and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check to JBS, Post Office Box 360, Stamford, Connecticut 06904. Or you can call the JBS Pledge Line at 833-MY-JBS-TV. That's 833-695-2788. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. We thank you for your kind support.